Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody to the Board of Trustees General Meeting, June 3rd, 2024, here in Town Hall. Ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Right. Scott M. Horowitz.
Present.
Ed Warner, present. Richard Marin.
Here.
Joe McLaughlin.
Here.
And Matt Parsons.
Here.
We're all here, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Just for informational purposes, our next trustee meeting will be Monday, June 17th at 9:30 a.m. That will be the work session, followed by our regular meeting, the general session, on the same day, June 17th at 1 p.m. We do have a bunch of communications that everybody received, and I will make a motion to dispense with the reading of them.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we read those. I do see we have like a rock star here in the audience. A past dedicated trustee of the town of Southampton, the Honorable John Semlier, as well. I'd like to acknowledge that. He did a great job. And I'm going to move right into the public hearing process because I know you want to address the board today, right? And I'd like to give you ample opportunity to do that. I'd like to welcome the folks that are on Zoom here today, too. John, nice to see you, and thank you for your past service.
Here, there.
Why don't you want to sit here? I kind of feel like, you know,
Are we
you
doing
wanted
public portion or public hearing right now?
Public
public
portion.
portion.
We skipped the.
We're skipping that. I'm going to
Take that out of order.
Yeah, I'm going to take this out of order.
Did you want them to address separately, or do you want to have all three?
I'm going to let these guys get on their way. Jess.
Yeah.
Anyway, John Semlier, 31 Pine Neck Avenue, Sag Harbor. I was a trustee for 20 years. Actually haven't been in this room for 10 years, hard to believe, not once. So this is my first visit. And I'd like to start out by thanking all you guys, past, present, for everything that you've done, going back to the Pump Out Boat program, which enabled the Peconic Estuary to be designated as a no discharge zone through the EPA. All the projects, North Sea, the management zones, having conditional shellfish areas in Southampton town when other towns could not pull it off, having a great rapport with the people in shell fisheries at the DEC, so that that we were able to work on projects and initiate projects and continue projects over the years. For putting in management practices like you've done with the razor clam fishery, which is made it a sustainable fishery, a 4-month fishery during the winter, where the baymen have done very well with it, and there have not been conflicts with other user groups, and the environment has been not overused, the resource has been adequately used and not overstressed. We are in a position in Southampton town. We're very fortunate. I mean, we have very good water quality. We have Shinnecock Inlet in particular that makes Shinnecock Bay as a treasure. Shellfish set and grow in there tremendously well, and we happen to be at a point in time where we had a very successful razor clam winter, and we have a lot of hard clams in the bay, and we have a lot of seed coming, and it's owed to projects that you guys have done with Chris Gobler over the years, with Cornell Cooperative Extension, transplants, seeding programs, go and seed in Weesa Creek like we used to do years ago. There's been a lot of effort, a lot of volunteer work, and this has been on the backs of people that have been residents for a long time. And so I want to segue into this. I feel like in recent times we've had a lot of a number of people that have moved into the town to go clamming, and clammers are traditionally nomadic, if you will. I mean, there are a lot of guys that work up in Long Island Sound. They follow the clams wherever it seems to be the best. So we're sort of bearing some brunt of the fact that there's a dearth of clams in other areas around Long Island, and we happen to be in a good position because of what we've done communally and So my question is I'm asking you guys, I'm speaking for myself at the moment, but I'm asking you guys for help. I mean, a lot of us are working on the clamming full time in the summer. We do other things throughout the year, but it's a finite resource, and it can take just so much pressure before it's, it can be put into a collapsing stage. And when the bay is working properly, you can harvest, and the seed sets, and it's sustainable. So it's like you got potatoes coming. You harvest them, and then you got little potatoes, and then next year. But it can only take so much, and we've been at a balance, a good balance where it's worked, and the bay is working like it should. The environment is working, and my concern is that if we don't do something to limit the licenses, and it's too easy for somebody somebody could just always living with me, sign an affidavit, and they're here. And in some cases, I know for a fact that people don't live here, and they just they have their boats kept here, and they just go clamming. So what I'm asking for is maybe we could have some kind of a work group or something in the near future where we could come up with some ideas, to try to create a measure of safety, if you will, so that we don't overstep exceed where sustainability will carry us on. And there are, like the New York State DEC, with food fish licenses for commercial fishermen, there's a moratorium on those licenses, and you can get one in a lottery if you show that you've had 3 years of income. But you don't necessarily get your name picked out of the hat in a particular year. Timmy has federal licenses because he fishes outside of 3 miles, and you can't you have to have these licenses. They have to be available. You can't just show up and go do it. So I think they're precedent for taking measures to preserve the resources. And if it were such that everybody in New York State could get a food fish license and arbitrarily catch whatever amount of the particular species that they wanted to, we wouldn't be in a sustainable situation which we are, at present. And Chip, he's had a dragger, and he knows, he's been all through the permitting, and he knows what I'm saying. And there are, so it wouldn't be something new. And I know other towns have caps on licenses. They have periods of time where you can purchase them and not purchase them. In particular, like going back to the DEC and fin fish issues, if I don't purchase my food fish license by, I believe, April 1st, I can't get my striped bass tax. So there are various precedential measures that have been taken by other agencies, and so that's
why you're here.
That's why I'm here. And one other thing I'd like to also put in the hopper is that we have several baymen that are blue crab dredgers in the winter, and other towns and the state of New York allow mechanical retrieval of blue crab dredges, and like to put that out for discussion, and maybe we can put that in a work group too. I know that I think Ed may have a protocol from New Jersey, what they
Size.
You can't take conchs, you can't take hard clams, and Timmy's done, and his family for generations have done blue crab dredging in Brookhaven town, and the mesh size of the rings of the dredge is not such that it catches little necks, so the hard clams are not something that would be an issue. But anyway, just like to sort of put that out for thought and discussion as well.
Are we allowed to discuss now, or is this a...
No, I think we're going to have a little bit of a discussion, and then we'll, like you said, I think your suggestion's a good suggestion where maybe we have like a working group and we try and get some ideas around the table. But I'm having like a bit of a flashback right now because I attended with Edward the viewing of the movie that had past trustee Bill Bennett in there, when they were trying to combat pollution issues. The Baymen were trying to like fight back pollution issues that were, affecting obviously the livelihood of you guys all. And I worked in commercial fishing for a while when I was a lot younger. And it's like here we are sitting at the table having a conversation, not about pollution. Obviously, we're all still concerned about it, and it's still an issue today. But about the sustainability and us not going past the equilibrium and hitting that tipping point where we can't come back, and we've worked so hard to get the resource to where we're sustainable.
And and I would characterize like the long-standing people like as we've been contributors. We've been through the vacillations of it's so bad you can't even believe it. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm beating my head against the wall to where it goes up and you're like on top of the pile, and so we've been through this.
Right.
And I characterize it as like as I said reference earlier. Well, we've done a lot of programs. We have input and we're enhancing things in the community. And I just want to get away from the fact that somebody can just come and be a taker right away.
Right, I understand what
So
you're
that-
saying.
so that-
You want there to be people that actually have the skin in the game, being part of this community, not just being nomadic and
Yeah.
coming in here. I mean, I understand that, and we fight hard for holding up.
And there's nobody is more concerned about populations of species. It's how we make our living. I know sometimes we're maligned as we're taking all this, we're taking all the this species or that species, but it's to our detriment to do that because we're in this for the long haul. I mean, Matthew he's just 24 years old, and I mean he's I'm 64. Timmy's 54. He's 24, so he's a youngster in the game. And, we're looking out. We want him to be able to make it.
And you want generational sustainability of harvest so that you can pass this on even to your children, right?
That's where I want to say thank you to the town trustees because things are better now as a whole in the Bay, the past and the present trustees. That they're better now than they've been in my entire life. Where you can go from thing to thing to thing. Even if one thing is down, you can still go do something else and still pay your bills and make a living. And we made sacrifices. I've lived like John through times when times were tough, when you had to go to work and you worked for practically nothing, and you could have went and made more money somewhere else on the hopes of things are going to come back. And all the sacrifices that we made, now things are bearing fruit, and we don't want it open to everybody. And my personal belief, it's not somebody who's 20 years old who's lived in the town his entire life. He should be able to get a license tomorrow. This is somebody coming from somewhere else that things are better here now than they were there, and they didn't have a town license for the last 8 or 10 years because they were working somewhere else. And this is only an issue because John Morris doesn't buy clams anymore. And the same truck that buys those clams buys these clams. When he comes here first and then he goes theirs, these guys know what clams are, and their eyes are about this big. So they're looking for a different place to work. And we're the only town. Brookhaven Town has a limit on the licenses, and Islip Town has a limit on licenses. And we're the only one where you can come here tomorrow and go to work tomorrow.
Right.
Right. We're definitely going to address like the legal issues of it. And I think it's imperative, and we've tried various ways of limiting the amount of licenses or your residency within the town, and we've got to dial it in because it is a worry. And
The pie is only so big.
There's a finite resource.
And like you said, there's a lot of people that have put a lot of work into this project to make this fly, and then all of a sudden you're just going to have somebody pop in and say, "Yeah, I'm here." So, and I just wanted to touch quickly on well, first off with the Baymen's Association, like we're going to need a letter drafted from the Baymen's Association. I'll reach out to Willie for that. Just kind of gets more continuity to say that the Baymen's Association is in favor of something like this as well. And then lastly, with the crab dredging, and I'm going to ask Timmy's expertise because I know the last time we saw crab dredging in Mecox, it kind of took a hit on the seasonal bay potting of the crabs. But I don't know if that's like a standard or not, or does that actually? Do we know like whether the winter dredging is going to impact the guys that are potting? Or
I think the actual problem with it isn't the crab dredging. It's when you get a severe winter, the crabs die. They freeze in the bottom. They die. Where the crabs bed down is where the fresh water comes out of the ground, And when you know what anchor frost is, and when it gets that cold, the crabs freeze right in the bottom.
I think you could also look at meacox as a different entity as opposed to like, you know, Tiana or Mauritius, because it's a smaller body and maybe it's not appropriate for that. You know,
Right, I
I'm
don't
not
think
saying,
anybody would even go in there and then use
I would say
mechanical means.
you know
in there.
something like that would maybe be a non.
I think beating up the bottom
Dredging.
myself is good anyway. No, but regardless
Yeah.
of where it is, I
Right.
think that like crab dredging is beneficial, and you might as well get them before the vector spraying does. So, I mean,
Well,
Just so you know, the crab dredge that we used didn't use a scallop ring like they use in the bay. The one we used was a sea scallop ring. It's about this big. And it had 4-inch mesh on the top. You don't want the mud in the dredge, because if the mud and all that stuff stays in the dredge, the crabs can't go in the dredge. So it's got to be able to clear and wash. There's a whole.
so mandated 4-inch rings. I mean, that's an option.
That's fine.
Yeah.
With 4-inch mesh
Because
on the
that'll
top.
take care of the pirating of hard clams as
Right,
well.
there'd be no hard.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
Well,
Yeah.
I hate to hear the word pirating, you know, because I always like to deal with respect for the resource and the regulations for the purposes of sustainability for everybody. So hopefully no pirating. But you know, the Maritime Heritage community is very important to the Board of Trustees, and you guys are a big part of that Maritime Heritage. And I think that we need to work with our legal team here to figure out how we make sure we don't get into a situation where there's overharvest or not appropriate respect for regulations. Obviously, you need good enforcement. You need everybody playing by the rules, and I think we're resolved to work on this because we're concerned. And it's not just the shellfish. It's not just this. It's all of the trust assets in general. There's only so much of that pie to go around, and everybody's vying for a piece of that pie. And yeah, we've made sacrifices, and I like to consider them as investments. Bayman and the stakeholders of the town came together when we started these sanctuaries, working with all these other organizations, Dr. Goldner and Cornell and so forth. And we made these investments in our bays and in our waterways, and now we're reaping those dividends. And you want to make sure that those dividends are going to come and keep coming, so that your kids can be out there on the bay, and we can still remain, at the altitude that we're nicely flying at right now. A little turbulence every now and then, but to your point, we don't want to see this thing coming down again. You want to be able to maintain that stability, because that's what everybody needs to pay their mortgages and put gas in the car. And
I acknowledge there's a strange aspect to it in some respects, because like it sounds kind of odd, but we're the last of the hunter gatherers. We're working on a public resource, so it's a
Yeah, but you're still freeholder of the town of Southampton
but
for that resource.
right. So
But that's where there has to be a good relationship, in my opinion, and to like your point, where there's an excellent working relationship to the Board of Trustees that's helped, regulating those resources that you're hunting and gathering upon, and that if there's regulations that we've always had for the purposes of maintaining the residents of the town of Southampton, as per the colonial era patents and so forth, we need to respect that, and that's why they're on the wall here in the building and whatnot, and that's what the basis of what we do is based upon. So I think that we're gonna have to work with the legal team. I think we should convene some type of working group. I really applaud you for coming down here today, and then we'll just get some ideas going and figure out how we keep this thing sustainable and keep it moving. And
Come up with a couple guys that you think would be good for the work session,
okay.
and then give
All right. So
me
you're gonna reach out to
Scott.
Willie.
Yeah.
And then obviously-
reach out to Willie, get a letter drafted of your concerns
Okay.
about incoming
I mean,
people.
I'll try calling Willie when I leave here.
if you recall everything that we did, if you go back to the genesis of when we decided to set up the major sanctuaries that we had throughout the town, Tiana as an example, it was with a substantial amount of input from the Baymen's Association and public, hearings with the stakeholder buy-in, investment in the community. I think we can handle it the same way. We were successful with that. We could be successful with this, and I appreciate your expertise of decades on either side of the aisle, whether it have been served as a regulator or working in the fishery. I think it's very helpful.
All right, great.
Yeah, I would just like to make one comment. I was at a wedding yesterday at West Sayville. overlooking the Great South Bay. It was a museum where they had clam boats and gear that they used. And some of the older gentlemen came up to me and we were talking about in the 70s when there was 5,000 and 6,000 clam boats on Great South Bay. Here it is, a beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon, and there's not one clam boat in sight for miles. So that was a resource that they thought was going to last forever. It's not infinite. It can be caught up.
It's finite, yeah.
And as the board, as property managers and managers of a resource, we got to take into considerations all of our efforts and fruits that we've laid out in the past and how they're coming, in a positive way, and we have to take consideration moving forward how best to manage them. I feel, looking at the bays right now in 2024 and thinking how they were in 1987 and 88, when I could go out in Shinnecock Bay and literally work all day and not get 2 spackle buckets of clams, and working with the baymen and these boards, my father and other boards before us, and really initiating, seeding projects and clam relays, and working with Chris Goldberg and Cornell, and putting massive amounts of shellfish in the bay. It's really come home to that, that we're on the good side. So it's important that we keep it, on that side, and we manage the resource with the best of our abilities. And working with you guys and the other baymen, I think, is really important, because you guys are the first, like the canary in the coal mine. Without you guys here before us, then there'd be nothing out there. So
You always got to be thinking forward too, especially when you're
Yes.
talking
Yes.
generation. I mean,
Yes.
and I don't know if you saw that movie that Billy Bennett was in.
Yeah.
Dying Day, yeah.
And right?
Yep.
And here we are. It's like we're kind of seeing it,
Yeah.
we're feeling it. It's like we're at the top, and it's like, okay, we got to figure out what we got to do to make sure we don't start going down the backside of the slope. And it's like, so let's get a handle on it right now and see how we best regulate.
And it's not a conversation we haven't had before, because I remember talking to Special Attorney Joe Lombardo a few years ago on how we could implement some kind of, seasonality of getting licenses and, some kind of limitations. And Joe, I don't know if you wanted to, say a little bit, because I know you had worked diligently, with the trustees and keeping our resources for the freeholders, taxpayers of the town.
Well, having had to deal with it twice with the Brookhaven Bayman in court, and successfully, thank God. Yeah, it's a problem that we do have to keep an eye on. Conservation is one aspect of the problem. The other problem is, as John pointed out, 100 people going after, a finite resource where more than half of them perhaps shouldn't have the right because they don't qualify under our rules to have a license, is something we do have to be vigilant about.
I think enforcement is key as well.
Yep.
I think that's really important.
As we learned with the Brookhaven Bayman, it is a resource that we as the owners have a right to regulate and decide who can harvest and who can't.
And we will do that.
Looking
Alright.
forward to working.
Anybody else want to add something?
Yeah, like you said, how it's about paying your mortgage and everything else. I feel like a lot of these guys that are getting into it are a lot older. If it was a lot, like, I've only been clamming for the last 6 years, but I've only seen one other guy my age get out onto the bay. I've seen 5 or 6 other boats get out there that are 50, 45, 50, 60. Their mortgage is paid. Their kids are raised. I'm worried about paying my mortgage, having my kids, raising them, bringing them up the way I want to, paying for it that way. And a lot of these guys that are trying to get in are already over that hump. This is their retirement plan now.
I'd like to say one thing to what Matthew said. It isn't about just. It's about attracting young people for the into something that's going to die off if we don't do something. So I'm not looking to take away from somebody who's, like I said, 18 or 20 years old, or even 24 years old, who just got out of college and decide he wants to go and work on the water. That's part of me is fine, because that's the person we should be trying to attract.
Yeah, that's
Well,
all
there's
it
a
is.
lot of trades now that they really need apprentices for. I mean, you guys are marine guys. Take a look at, fiberglass repair or any of this. I mean, you had certain people that were really craftsmen at it. Now you got to be looking for somebody. So you need to have
It's
this
dying industry.
Right.
You have
I
this
think
guy, you
Matt's,
need the
Matt's the only
apprenticeship.
Bayman without white beard, right?
From my perspective, as somebody who's 55 years old, you need somebody young to help you get through. He gets trained by you, and then he can go off and do it on his own.
Yeah.
Right now, there's nobody standing behind him. So
Right.
I want somebody to come and take my place to be able to go
Well,
to work with him.
None of us as Baymen want to see the legacy and or the knowledge base of how to be a Bayman to be lost. Because if it's not passed on to this generation, it's gone forever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And
It's on the brink.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And John knows I've been involved in commercial fishing going back to when I was a kid, and I've been on the water my entire life, and I'm going to be 60 pretty soon.
Is
I
that
had
hard to
slow
say?
down there for a minute. Slow down there for a minute, you know. So I have a lot of respect for what this is, and I view this seat that I sit in as a mission for the benefit of you and the rest of the stakeholders of this town, and for the future generations, because along with being 60 comes being a grandfather, and things get really, really clear for you then about what you want to see for your grandchildren and their grandchildren. So I'm with you, and we'll work with the team of people. We'll work collaboratively amongst us, and we'll figure something out.
I want to thank you for your
Thank you.
time, too.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Guys.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
coming
Thank
in.
you.
Don't never lose sight of the fact that this is the oldest continuously elected board, 1686.
I know.
Anyway.
I know. I never lose the fact of that. And it's as I get older, I say to myself, I never thought I'd be standing at a podium saying I'm representing the oldest anything. And here I am.
See you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're on public portion, because I do respect their time. Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to address the board for any reason under the public portion part of our agenda today? Is there any hands up?
No one's on Zoom.
No one is on Zoom. Okay, so we will close public portion at this point in time based on the fact that we've cleared the room here. Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public portion is now closed. Now let's move off to the public hearing that we have. We have a notice of public hearing on amendment of rules and regulations for the management and products of town waters, Blue Book, considering amending the management and products of the waters of the town of Southampton. Article 7, dredging, docks, bulkheading, and channels. I'd like to make a motion to open here. Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
I would like to allow special counsel Lombardo. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Okay, this public hearing is to amend the Blue Book to address two issues which needed to be clarified or corrected. The first one you will be addressing was to publicly put into the Blue Book the same regulation that you announced with the fee schedule, that the date that permit fees will be calculated will be the date of the resolution of the board, as opposed to the date the application is made. As you know, that there can be delays between the initial application and through the hearing process, the application can change 1, 2, 3, 4, many times. And it isn't until the board and the applicant have a meeting of the minds as to what will be done, how it will be addressed, or how it will be applied, do you get to a point where you can actually say this will be the fee for the permit. This will clarify and codify the fact that it will be once the board and the applicant have an agreement and it's ready to be issued, that's when the board will put the resolution on for approval. And the second thing that we will address is there are a number of applications that after a while do not proceed any further beyond an application or beyond perhaps a first appearance before the board at a work session. There'll be questions or there'll be communications from our environmental people requesting clarification or information, and they get no response from the applicant. What we're proposing is that if there's 1 year of no contact with the applicant, that the application will be deemed abandoned. We shouldn't have to hold a file for 4 or 5 years and they say, well, wait a minute, I applied for this a couple of years ago. No, if the application is going to go through in a timely fashion and it's going to be dealt with, then there should be also a time limit where we say, no, it's been abandoned, there's been no interest in it. If you want to do this, you'll have to make a reapplication, or whatever appropriate fee at the point that would be, the reapplication would be made. So those are the two issues that this Blue Book change would address. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions, anybody?
I think this is just cleaning up, basically house cleaning, because I know when I first became a trustee, after my dad passed away and I was here, I had about 6 or 8 applications that sat in a box and they never got reviewed. And after a couple of years, I sat with the attorney and drafted a letter and said, either your application is going to be withdrawn or, so we're just cleaning up because we can't hold on to these applications in perpetuity waiting for them to, address them. So
True. And it's possible in the interim that we could change a Blue Book, and the application, which is sitting there basically in a limbo state, wouldn't be something that we would entertain at that particular point. We want to avoid any potential of somebody saying, but I'm grandfathered. I made the application before you made the change.
correct.
It's housekeeping, but it's something which needs to be done. We don't have an overabundance of staff to be able to sit and worry about things beyond, a certain point. They have enough work as it is.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
All right. There's nobody here from the public to address this. It's a needed housekeeping type of measure. So you want to close this public hearing?
Yes. Okay.
Motion made by trustee
Second.
McLaughlin, seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's go to the application for permits. Board of Trustees hereby waives a public hearing on the following applications because it has been determined that the following projects do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input is not needed to aid in the decision-making process.
All right.
Trustee Warner.
Trustee Resolution 2024-151, the application for Coal Mountain LLC, 16 Sondingham Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map 900, 134-1-9, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. We worked on this at work session. I believe it's all compliant to what we need, so I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Seconded trustee McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2024-152, application for Cold Mountain LLC, 16 Sondingham Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-271-1-4.8, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. We worked on this. Did I just read that? No. Just a second here. That's a different one. All right. Oh, this is for the rock revetment. This is a different application for the same property. We worked on this at the work session. I believe, James, everything is in compliance, right? So what we need, and the sand management agreement is all good.
I passed it on to our environment division. I think they've given it to the applicant.
Okay. So do we have a signed copy of the agreement yet?
I would suggest
Well,
that you,
then after previous issues with these sand agreements and not having, I like to hold this until we have documentation of a
you
signed.
want to table the
I
motion?
want-
I'll make the motion.
I like to
Motion
table
made
this until we get the
Joseph
signed
to
copy.
table, you seconding it?
Yeah, I'm seconding
Seconded by
it. Yep.
trustee Warner. All in favor?
All
Okay, that resolution is tabled
All
currently.
right, thank you. Trustee Resolution 2024-153, recall and amend application for James Goff, 9 Shawnee Street, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-230-3-17, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. There was some issues with the davit, I believe, for the jet ski, which we resolved. Now everything is compliant that we need. Correct, James?
Yeah, we had to take off.
Yep.
Jet ski.
Yep.
Separate
Yep, exactly so. So I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second it.
Seconded. Trustee Marin, all in
All in
favor?
Aye. Him? For
2024-154.
Yeah, okay, this is 2024-154 renewal application. This is the third permit renewal application number GP 000211 Robert and Diane Cummings, and 250 Jones Lane, Bridgehampton, New York. 09001341-43.2 body of water is in Swans Creek.
Second.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 155/24, this is application for East Beach Drive, I work, Wilkes Bay, contact map 900. -42-1-2.2. As discussed during work session last month, can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
There's got different pages going on.
Trustee Resolution 156/24, this is a new application for application for tackle number 900. Oh, sorry, this is for sorry, this is the water level have for Fairsack Lane. I think this was I guess historic. This has been done in the past. The Conservancy and also the property owners have this has been a common renewal. So I don't know. Is there a tackle number on this or?
Yeah, it's 904-13126. It's Agawam Lake.
Okay, yeah, okay, great.
So, this is the final renewal on this project that we've been undergoing. So
How many years was this? This has been going on?
I think this is the
This is the fourth renewal.
fourth renewal, so yes.
5 years.
So it's been
New and then the 4 renewals.
yep. So,
So is this the last one?
It is, and then it'll be a reapplication.
Okay.
yes. So,
Is that done by the Conservancy or done by the?
It's done by the Conservancy.
by the Conservancy.
Bounced to me.
So recommend its approval, right?
Yes.
Got it seconded,
Got a
Edward?
second on it,
Seconded by
yep.
trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Parsons.
All right, we've got trustee resolution 2024-157, renewal application, Stephen Harwood at 7 Bay Meadow Lane in West Hampton. Guess everything looks good here. Can I get a second for this, please?
Oh, second on that?
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got trustee resolution 2024-158, authorize the president to sign a contract with Cornell University Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County for shellfish spawning and seeding for 2024. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Freeholders and Commonalty of the Town of Southampton solicited a request for proposals for the professional service of spawning and seeding of certain shellfish species. Whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County submitted a proposal. Whereas Cornell was thereafter awarded a contract which has been renewed annually for successive terms. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the President to sign a contract with Cornell for the spawning and seeding of shellfish.
I'll second that.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee resolution 2024-159, authorized payment of services to Pocket Tie Sharks Hopkins Creative Group.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second.
Seconded by trustee Warner,
All in favor?
all in favor? Aye.
Trustee resolution 2024-160, authorized payment of reimbursement to the town of Southampton for box license.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. All
Okay,
in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Got a trustee resolution 2024-161, resolution authorizing the president to sign a letter in support of the village of Southampton's application for a grant to replace the Boyson Road culvert. I'll make a motion. Seconded, trustee McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this is me. Trustee resolution 2024-162, notice of adoption of amendment of the Blue Book, A340, amending the management and products of the waters of the town of Southampton, Article 17, Ocean Beach Events and Permits.
I'll make that motion.
Should I read all this, or just, can I get a second, please?
That's a lot to read.
Yeah,
Well, we went over this at the public hearing
it
process.
wasn't, Joe, do you want to say?
Yeah, Joe, why don't you just
I think
let Joe speak to it, and
Yeah,
then you can
sum it up.
whatever changes we made.
We held the public hearing at the last meeting. We made no changes. We took out the 30-day the 30-day notice requirement. because of the change in the board's method of processing the licenses. It used to be we would need to put on a resolution approving the special event permit. We're trying to streamline the process. Lisa Kay had mentioned that it was no issue with the 30 days. Now that we're not doing the resolutions, you didn't need a lead time. And all the other changes, again, are just there to direct the being able to live in peace and harmony with the piping plover, basically.
Right, and we did review commentary from Parks Department. And,
Right, and we opened it up for 2 weeks for written,
I received
and
nothing.
we haven't received
We have
any
that
of the-
written, but we believe we're in compliance, and by making that elimination, we kind of took care of an issue there by
Yes.
streamlining our process. And the commentary that we did get were from folks that were highly engaged in the industry and were very supportive and welcoming and thankful that we were regulating this appropriately.
Right.
So it was a needed change to the regulations.
I would recommend its adoption.
Can I ask a question, please? I understood that the late fee was gonna be for a week if someone didn't submit it prior to a week before their event. Not 30 days, a week, the late fee? We were gonna change it from 30 days to a week?
I don't recall that
I
being
thought
an
we
issue
discussed
being
that
brought
at
to
the
my
last-
attention anyway.
We can't, I mean, what if an application comes in the day before on a Friday at 3 o'clock for an event on Saturday? I thought that we were talking
This is an
about,
issue I wish I would have heard before.
we discussed it at the last meeting.
I mean, since we eliminated the need for a resolution, it's going to be handled administratively. Is that going to present a problem if it's checking all the boxes of what it is that
It's
we
an
need?
issue. It's not anything to do with this public hearing. It's just,
The
I just want
process
to
of
get that
doing
clarified.
Need a roll call vote.
Well, we can have a roll call vote, but that's not going to
It
change.
doesn't
That's not going to
affect the
address the
notice
issue,
of
I
unfortunately.
mean, do this in general.
Oh, if you call for it, yes, you're entitled to it.
So what's the issue?
We need
Whether or
more-
not there's
The-
going to be a late fee for somebody that submits an application for a party because they made a decision,
Thursday afternoon?
you know, in a short period of time. What's the?
I just want to get
I think we
clarification
should
from
table
you
this.
guys about the application. This
We've got
won't
some gray
affect the
hair.
public hearing or the notice of adoption today, as I understand it.
I'm gonna make a
Right.
motion
It's just
to
an
table it.
application
I-
change, and I just personally want clarification
We
for
don't need to
implementation.
burn up
Again,
time.
Exactly. Put this off. Let's table the adoption, even though I hear what you're saying.
I would recommend its adoption. We're getting into the season now where these applications are coming in, and there's going to be confusion as to what you can and can't do.
So relative to what the concern is about a late charge or a late fee, is that going to require
Amendment.
It may require another blue book, or it may not. I need to sit down with Jessica and get a little more clarification. But I would recommend that we
It's not in
adopt.
the blue book, though.
If it's not in the blue book, then I wouldn't
It's
worry
just
about
an
it.
application change. I just personally want clarification, that's
So
all.
then it should be adopted if it's just an
It should be
application
adopted, and
change.
if it's an
And I
administrative
agree.
matter, we can deal with
Right.
the administrative
Right,
matter
but
in
that's
the due
a
course.
question for,
Well, he mentioned that
Yeah.
we were just getting rid of the 30 days, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
get clarification on that.
Well,
That's all.
no problem. No.
yeah, no, it's just an application. We're not like Joe said, we're looking to get good compliance on the fact that we're
Yeah.
holding everybody to a standard of enforcing the threatened and endangered species program. And it needs to be continuity with these parties and whatnot that are
Yeah.
going on in the trustees easement that we're taking responsibilities for. I mean, the public, I think, sees the difficulty that we go through in getting Mecox Bay opened up for environmental benefit and whatnot, Sagaponack, you know, where we get, you know, encumbered by the birds. And, you know, here you got parties going on at houses, and, you know, you need to kind of keep things consistent.
You know, and as we saw with the adoption that we did just earlier, there are things that are on applications that don't necessarily come into the blue book, and then we have to do a housekeeping function later on. We can deal with that
Right,
issue,
that's
but
a
I would
different-
recommend the adoption
Yeah,
at
I
this
get
point.
it. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So that being said, Trustee McLaughlin, do you feel a need for a roll call vote on this adoption?
Is that you, Mr. President?
What's that?
Is that you?
You brought it up, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, a general question, so, or general.
I mean, it doesn't require one. I mean, you know,
It's a board preference.
I would,
Yeah.
would you feel we need to vote
No, I
regularly?
think we can just let it roll.
If it's something that doesn't need to be,
Would you like to make a motion?
No, I have no motion on the table.
No, I mean for
I'll
adoption.
make a motion to adopt.
I'll second it.
Seconded by, motion made by trustee Parsons, who actually spearheaded this.
Yes,
Thank you very
Matt.
much. Seconded by trustee McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Moving right along. Okay, trustee resolution 2024-163, notice of public hearing on amendment of Blue Book A340, amending the management and products of the waters of the town of Southampton. Article 1 definitions and Article 11, Section 61 boat ramp and 4x4 beach driving permits. The Board of Trustees of the Freeholds and Commonalty of the town of Southampton directs that a public hearing shall be held on Monday, June 17th, 2024 at 1 p.m.
I'll second that.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Trustee Resolution 2024-164, warrant number 9 for 2024. Be Ready Fishburne Hatter, $5,693.75. Allen Financial Services, $3,682.30. Jessica Feldman, petty cash, $400. New York State DEC, $300. PS EGLI, $38.67. Riverhead Building Supply, $429.01. Town of Southampton, $110.61. Trias Inc., $34.34. And WB Mason Inc., $130.74 for a total of $10,819.44. I recommend its approval. Need a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Parsons. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we had a lot of discussion.
We have a
this
walk-on.
morning. Oh, we do have a walk-on, that's right. Who would like to read the walk-on?
I will.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Resolution 20,
Permission?
yeah, 160, permission to do a
I
walk-on.
will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Now the resolution.
Trustee Resolution 2024-165, recall and amend Trustee Resolution 2023, Trustee 361. Resolved that the trustees resolved Resolution 2023, Trust 361 is hereby recalled and amended, and the amending the following dates. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Freeholders Commonalty of the Town of Southampton hereby authorizes pursuant to 340 Article 2, Section 16, special authority of the North Sea Harbor Hardclam Management Zone to be open for the taking of hard clams by commercial and recreational harvest during the following period, all dates inclusive, May 21st, 2024 to May 28th, 2024, June 25th, 2024 to July 4th, 2024, August 27th, 2024 to September 2nd, 2024, December 17th, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. So I recommend its approval. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Seconded trustee McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion that needs to go on here? I know it's been quite a day. I know we have a couple of minutes left in executive, right? Couple?
2 more to bang out.
2 more to go? Anybody?
I'm good.
All right. That being said, then I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting, go into executive session for the continued discussion of personnel and confidential legal advice.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody out there, have a great day.